Okay, so today we're diving deep, really deep, into the kind of extraordinary story of Tammy Cowens.
Right. The confidential informant.
Exactly. Her actions didn't just expose the Black Mafia family BMF, one of America's most notorious drug
It
groups.
went way beyond that.
It really did. It fundamentally reshaped how federal drug trafficking prosecutions work. If you know anything about the BMF saga, her name is just. It's synonymous with its downfall.
Absolutely.
And we're here to give you the full picture, the unvarnished truth of her role, which was pivotal and, yeah, often pretty controversial.
Yeah.
We've been digging through federal court records, legal filings, lots of research.
Yeah, and our mission for this deep dive is just that, to really explore what the documents say Tammy Cowens did as CS1. That's confidential source one.
You can explain, right?
We want to look at the real scope of her cooperation, the huge impact she had on BMF and other cases too, actually. And some of the details that pop out from the legal record are genuinely surprising.
They really are.
We're trying to get at not just what happened, but, why it matters. What does it tell us about how law enforcement tackles these huge criminal outfits? And what are the sort of long-term ripples from these deep cover operations?
And what we found is, well, it's kind of astounding. Picture this. You've got a romantic relationship that becomes this absolute intelligence gold mine. She gets paid, like, substantially for helping out.
Yep, the records show that clearly.
Then there are these really controversial scandals involving her DEA handler, makes you question the integrity of things.
It's a big part of the story, yeah.
And then, maybe the weirdest part, her post-informant career. She's somehow right back in the public eye, even holding legal power for one of the guys she helped convict.
It's unusual, to say the least.
Okay, let's unpack all of this.
Let's do it.
So, Tammy Cowens, CS1 in the federal records. She really does stand out, doesn't she? One of the most significant confidential informants in, well, modern drug trafficking cases.
Definitely. Her cooperation was incredibly far-reaching. We're talking multiple federal cases and directly contributing to, what was it, over 100 convictions.
Over 100. Yeah, that number alone. It doesn't just take down an operation.
No, it changes the whole game. It shows the kind of power one person can actually wield inside the justice system for good or ill, depending on your perspective.
And her central role was in this thing officially called Operation Motor City Mafia.
Right, which the feds describe as the largest organized crime drug enforcement effort in recent U.S. history. Huge scale.
What made her so valuable, so devastating to BMF, was that personal connection, right? Her romantic relationship with the co-founder, Terry Southwest T. Flunnery.
Exactly. That wasn't just, picking up scraps of info. It gave law enforcement this totally unprecedented, intimate look inside. The inner workings, the strategy, all of it.
So that intelligence became the backbone for the federal cases.
Absolutely. It led to sentences adding up to hundreds of years for the BMF leadership and tons of their associates. It really highlights how deep she got, turning that personal tie into an intelligence faucet for the feds.
Okay, so the timeline. When did this all start? Her cooperation began back in 2003.
That's right, after she got arrested on drug charges herself.
So she's facing serious time, potentially. And at that point, she makes a choice.
The big one.
A choice that, yeah, changes her life, but also just sends these massive shockwaves through BMF. And that led to her initially going into witness protection, right?
Yep, initially placed in WITSEC. So this wasn't just a quick tip-off. This was the start of a long, very high-stakes commitment on her part.
And that commitment, the court records show, it came with serious financial support.
Oh, yeah. Between 2011 and 2013 alone, the DEA paid her around $212,000 for her services as an informant.
200 grand, wow.
And the federal records even document regular monthly payments, $2,500 a month, consistently.
So this wasn't just like a thank you payment, it was a formal deal.
It was a formal cooperation agreement. She provides this incredibly valuable intelligence, and in return, she gets immunity from prosecution. Basically shields her from her own legal troubles. It shows you the kind of resources agencies will put up for that critical inside info.
And BMF, I mean, the scale of what she helped bring down is just mind-boggling.
It really is.
We're talking a criminal enterprise pulling in over $270 million, operating across at least 12 states, more than 500 employees.
Yeah, this wasn't some corner crew. This was a sophisticated, massive, multi-state network. A lot of people thought it was untouchable.
Until her.
Exactly. Her cooperation was actually described in court documents, literally, as delivering the final blow to BMF.
The final blow.
Her testimony in those key federal trials, United States v. Demetrius Flunnery and United States v. Terry Flunnery, that testimony directly led to 30-year federal sentences for both brothers both co-founders.
30 years each.
Yeah. What's just striking is how one person with that unique access and then that sustained cooperation could lead to the total dismantling of an organization that big, that powerful.
Her insights just connected all the dots.
Pretty much. It provided the foundation to link everything together, turning this complex web into cases they could actually prosecute.
And her cooperation, it wasn't just about passing along info, right? She actively testified in court, putting herself out there.
Absolutely. It went way beyond just intelligence gathering. She was on the stand. This wasn't a one-off thing either. Her involvement was deep and it was continuous.
So how deep did her intelligence go?
Well, the court records show her information directly allowed the feds to use over 900 pages of wiretap conversations in their prosecutions.
900 pages.
Think about that volume. Her insights helped investigators make sense of it all and, crucially, make it legally usable as evidence.
Yeah.
Federal prosecutors essentially built their entire strategy around what she told them about BMF's hierarchy, who reported to who and how their huge cocaine distribution network actually functioned.
She knew the whole structure.
She understood the inner workings. That was the linchpin for those cases.
And the prosecutions that came from this, they were just everywhere, weren't they?
Incredibly widespread. It showed the true reach of BMF and the investigation. You had multiple superseding indictments coming down between 2005 and 2007, charging dozens and dozens more BMF members and associates.
And the cases were spread out.
Yeah, federal courts in Georgia, Michigan, Missouri, Kentucky, California, Florida. All these different places were handling related cases. It really shows how far the investigation's tentacles reached, all stemming from her cooperation.
And that reach, that impact, it kept going even after the main BMF takedown, right?
Okay.
To later cases.
Definitely. It shows she remained valuable as an informant. Her role as CS1 was critical in a case called United States v. Diane Gatling out in the Eastern District of Missouri.
Okay.
Her testimony there directly helped convict Gatling on federal drug trafficking and firearm charges. And that led to a heavy sentence, 27 years, 324 months, handed down on May 17, 2019.
So it wasn't just BMF. Her impact rippled outwards.
This showcased her ongoing utility to law enforcement, yeah.
And the details from that Gatling case, they're pretty grim.
Very. Court filings suggest Gatling actually organized the murders of two potential witnesses, Theodis Howard in 2010 and Terrence Morgan in 2013.
Why? To stop them cooperating.
Exactly. To prevent them from cooperating with law enforcement. It just really underlines the incredibly high stakes and the, frankly, lethal consequences in these kinds of investigations for everyone.
And that case is still going on, in a way.
Still echoing. There's a related case, Diane Gatling v. United States, filed in the 8th Circuit just recently, November 2023. It suggests just how long the tail is on these prosecutions, the ongoing legal battles.
Right.
And it does raise a big question. What are those long-term ripple effects, from such extensive informant activity?
Sure.
Not just for the group taken down, but for everyone caught up in it and for the justice system managing these endless legal fights.
It's definitely not a clean ending. The consequences just keep unfolding.
For decades, potentially.
Now, you'd think a story like this with such a huge impact might be straightforward. But no. It gets complicated, controversial even.
There's definitely a shadow.
Yeah, this really sticky issue emerged. The Keith Cromer scandal.
Right. Her DEA handler.
He was a former DEA group supervisor in Atlanta, and he was actually Cowan's direct supervisor as CS1. But then allegations surfaced about an inappropriate personal relationship, maybe even sexual.
Yeah, this came out during something called a Franks hearing in St. Louis federal court.
And a Franks hearing, just so people know, that's a specific legal thing where a defendant can challenge if the info used to get a warrant was truthful, or, like here, question the credibility of the informant's handler because of alleged misconduct.
And the findings from that hearing were, well, pretty damning. And concerning.
Yeah.
U.S. Magistrate Judge Shirley Padmore Mensah flat out ruled that Cromer's testimony was not entirely credible.
Well, not entirely credible. Ouch!
Yeah. Evidence came out, intimate photos, records of them taking vacations together, and Cromer actually invoked his Fifth Amendment rights twice during the hearing, refused to answer questions that might incriminate him.
Pleading the Fifth, not a good look for a DEA supervisor.
Not at all. Ultimately, his DEA security clearance got revoked in June 2015, and he's not with the agency anymore. It's a serious black mark on how such a critical informant was managed. Raises big questions about ethics, oversight.
But, and this is the part that's almost hard to believe, given the scandal, the judge still ruled that the evidence Cowan's provided was admissible.
Yeah, despite the ethical mess with her handler, the evidence stood.
Which meant the convictions based on her work, they were allowed to stand. That decision feels huge. It really makes you ask, like, at what point does the sheer amount and verified quality of an informant's intel outweigh the ethical problems and how it was handled?
It's a fundamental tension, isn't it? Especially when going after these huge criminal groups. How far is too far? Where is the line?
And connecting this to the bigger picture, it suggests either the legal case itself was just incredibly solid, with lots of independent proof backing her up.
Or maybe it just shows how incredibly difficult it is for defendants to successfully challenge these kinds of convictions after the fact.
Well, and what's really striking, looking through the sources, is the almost complete lack of successful civil rights lawsuits related to her work.
That is remarkable, given how many cases she was involved in, how many people were convicted.
Right. We found no Section 1983 suits. Those are the ones where you sue government officials for violating your rights. No successful wrongful conviction claims, no cases against law enforcement agencies tied to her informant work being overturned because of false testimony or anything like that.
Which, especially considering the Cromer scandal, is quite something. It speaks volumes, maybe, about how hard it is to prove those kinds of claims later on.
Okay, so that brings us to Tammy Cowens now, today. And this part is just fascinating and kind of unbelievable, really, given her past.
The wild turn.
She's now documented as a co-producer on the Starz TV show BMF. And she's CEO of something called BMF Entertainment Group.
Right, directly involved in telling the story.
Hey, get this. She also holds power of attorney for Demetrius Big Meech Flannery.
The co-founder she helped send away for 30 years.
Exactly. Power of attorney means she has the legal authority to act for him on different matters. And maybe even crazier, she apparently controls his life rights.
Meaning she has a big say in how his story gets told, financially and creatively.
Talk about an unusual post-cooperation setup. The lines between former informant, entertainment exec, and, like, legal rep are just totally blurred. It's bizarre.
And this is where things get even murkier, moving into ongoing speculation territory. There have been these recent allegations popping up in 2024, 2025, suggesting she might still be cooperating with law enforcement somehow.
Still? Now?
Well, that's the claim. You've got social media posts from big names like 50 Cent as an executive producer on the BMF show. Right. Ironically enough, he's publicly accused Big Meech of using Cowens for third-party cooperation, basically cooperating through her.
Okay, that's convoluted.
It is. And look, these are unsubstantiated by any official court documents we could find. But they're out there, shaping the public story.
And it's not just 50 Cent?
No. Former BMF member Blue Da Vinci has also publicly claimed Cowens has been an informant since 2009, pushing her cooperation timeline way past the original BMF cases.
Wow.
And there are even podcast discussions floating around supposedly referencing court docs that suggest she testified against Cuppy Gatling, Diane Gatling's brother, maybe, specifically to get Big Meech a time cut, implying she might be trading info to help reduce his sentence.
So potential ongoing cooperation years later, maybe even helping the guy she originally informed on.
Again, it's all speculation and allegations at this point, not confirmed fact from the courts. But it's part of this complex, evolving narrative where legal records mix with public commentary and, frankly, persistent rumors. It's messy.
So, wow. We've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? We started with this initially unknown confidential informant in a tough spot.
Yeah, CS1.
And followed her path to becoming this absolutely central figure who didn't just contribute to taking down BMF, but really altered the whole landscape of how these big drug cases are prosecuted. Hundreds of convictions, dismantling a massive empire.
Yeah, we really dug into her critical role as CS1, that unique access she had through the personal relationship, the sheer scale of her impact on BMF, but also on other cases like Diane Gatling's. And we looked at the complexities, too, the whole informant role, the Keith Cromer scandal, highlighting those ethical gray areas.
Right, big questions there.
But then balanced, strangely, by that lack of successful lawsuits, challenging her testimony later on.
Yeah, that part's still puzzling. This deep dive really makes you think about, the hidden machinery of law enforcement, the unseen roles people play in these huge investigations.
Pulls back the curtain a bit.
Definitely. It shows how these massive takedowns actually happen and the often messy, very human element right at the heart of it all.
So considering everything, her current high-profile role in entertainment, those bizarre legal ties to Big Meech, and all this ongoing public chatter and allegation about continued law enforcement involvement, what does Tammy Cowens' story tell you about when an informant's career is truly over? and about those incredibly blurred lines between cooperation, consequences, and even how these stories get packaged for us in the media.
Yeah, it certainly leaves you with a lot to chew on.